All right. So we're back here, Fake Cine-Files, Gavin and Brett, ready to go over something that has kind of been on the docket for a while, but we're officially going to be jumping into live action remakes. Before we get into How to Train Your Dragon, let's go over kind of a brief history for live action remakes, and let's do, Brett, your best and worst live action remakes of, let's not say all time because we don't want to go too broad here, but let's say recent memory. Best and worst ones, and a quick little tidbit as to why each was great or fell short of the mark.
Well, I mean, I don't like the live action remakes, to be honest. I hate that we're in probably the most unoriginal, I would say the most unoriginal era in cinema. We're doing live action remakes of everything. And even we talked about it a little bit in our last podcast, how they're sort of changing certain things that don't need to be changed, or they're adding in things that probably don't need to be added. And I look at How to Train Your Dragon as a masterpiece. Okay. I love How to Train Your Dragon. I remember going to see it in the theaters when I was in middle school. I loved everything about this movie. The thing is, I mean, I kind of avoided the remakes and the live actions because no matter what, I'm always going to go back. The Lion King was good because they kept it so close to the original. And whenever I talk to people about, oh yeah, I'm going to go see a remake, it's got to be very close to the original. If you add certain things that at least like give a little bit more to the story or give a little bit more to the plot or just show us a little bit more that the animated version didn't, which How to Train Your Dragon does, which I actually like. There's actually certain scenes where you're like, oh wow, they didn't even go into any more action out of that certain moment in the film. I just don't like them personally. And I don't think anybody does. I think people get hyped about it because they love the nostalgia factor of it, where it's like, oh yeah, I get to go see Lilo and Stitch. And it would be cool to see if a young actor can portray Lilo like perfectly and they can get the themes of the movie right. And it's like really, it hits your heartstrings a little bit. It hits the nostalgia factor. It makes you feel like a kid again. But I watched How to Train Your Dragon before this. I haven't seen How to Train Your Dragon in probably a couple years now. I got the nostalgia factor. I loved every second of the movie. Not only that, it's quick watch, 90 minutes, you're in, you're out. And Hiccup is one of the best animated characters in DreamWorks, in my opinion, and Toothless as well. I mean, Toothless is one of the best animated characters he's so funny, so comedic, he's super cool. The action is amazing. And in this remake, everyone's kind of talking about it. It is kind of a shot for, it's really close to the original, which is what I like about it a lot. The thing that I didn't like is they added some things where I was like, I just don't think you need to add something there. I just don't think you need to add something there. Or they changed something. It's like I'm a very nitpicky person. I'm like, I just don't like that because my interpretation of the scene changes completely and then it throws me off. And then I start nitpicking and then I become one of these fans where I'm like, oh my God, dude, Brett, you have a problem with that? That's like the smallest thing in the world. But in my opinion, Hiccup's my guy. All right? When you change a little thing like how he's riding into the third act, he's now the passenger, and then you take some lines away from him in the third act, we'll get into that a little bit later, but it's like that pisses me off. It gets me mad, and it makes me, okay, I'm just going to stick to the original because the original is amazing. And I will always love the original. It's an 8.1 on IMDb. I don't think what I heard, people didn't hate this film, but they didn't know how to feel about it. And that's how I'm stuck in right now. Because when you add things, did I like it? Did I not? I don't know. Some of the things they added, I loved. And some of the things they added, I was like, why is that even in the movie, to be honest? And we'll start off with the first one, okay? The first one I didn't like was when Astrid and Hiccup have a conversation once the Book of Dragons is introduced. Okay? I just didn't think it needed to happen. Astrid comes up and kind of confronts Hiccup and is saying, what is with you? We've been fighting these dragons for thousands of years. You need to know what side you're on. And then Hiccup's like, what if they're not even that bad? What if the dragons aren't even that bad? I just don't see the point of it because we're about to go into a montage of him having super great relationships with Toothless. And it's like, I feel like you already know how the original goes and you're trying to add a scene and it's so forced in my opinion. It just didn't work for me. Okay? Now, that's one scene that we can talk about. And if you want to talk about it, let's go. Because I just didn't like it at all. And
I do want to talk about it because I really love that scene. Because in the first original animated version of that film, that's actually a topic that comes up a lot between Astrid and him. Because in the animated version of that film, he's very pacifist. Most of his inventions are not for fighting dragons. They're for things around the town. And that's how he's perceived by most of the villagers in the town, is this pacifist who's basically not capable of fighting dragons. It's why his father's ashamed of him. It's why the townspeople are ashamed of him. And it's why the people doing this trial with him are completely ashamed of him. And so it doesn't come from some sneaking suspicion that she has that he is secretly harboring a dragon or something else like that, but that he doesn't possess the soul of the Vikings that live in that village, which is fight and kill and brute and force and anger and resentment towards all of the things that have happened because of the dragons. And when you see Hiccup in every other interaction before that, you don't see that from him, and neither do the villagers. And that's why his father's ashamed and why other people are ashamed. And so when you come to that scene, and Hiccup's had this interaction with a dragon nobody's ever seen before, and he sets it free, and he thinks, well, I did that because I'm cowardly and because of all the reasons that everybody's so ashamed of me. And then he thinks, I'm going to die. And then the dragon just roars in his face and runs off. He starts to question things. And then he goes to the book and he starts to ask the person in the class, by the way, the only competent person in that class, what her opinion is. Because he thinks if there's going to be somebody else who might understand this line of logic, it's got to be the person who probably knows dragons better than anybody else, because she's been studying her whole life to be a chief. She's been studying her whole life to be a dragon slayer. This is what she was made for. So surely she'll have an answer or two. And she looks at him and goes, dude, you're insane. And then he gets to pull out his notebook and go, yeah, but what you don't understand is that by being myself and who I am in this story, I've got the leg up. I've got the inside information. And then he goes and he builds that relationship with Toothless, and it adds so much extra depth and weight to his character and to that interaction. So I really like it because it's little things that was sprinkled in through the animated film. But even in just that one conversation, you take it and you turn it on its head and you go, pay attention. This is what's going on with Hiccup. And I think that for people like yourself who saw it in middle school, who wouldn't have understood that kind of a reference, that are going back to see it for nostalgia purposes now, that's exactly the thing you throw in these remakes. It's not huge diabolical changes, but it's little things that make you think about how you knew the character as a kid compared to how you view yourself and the world around you now, and you take real life applicable things, and with your adult knowledge and your emotional maturity, you're able to stretch that story into the fullness that the adults who made the film want it to be. And that's why I like it. But I understand your point of view as well, because when you get so attached to something as part of the story that you knew, it gets hard to disassociate yourself from that to accept new things. What's your next thing?
Well, okay. Kind of going back to it, I mean, I honestly feel like it would have been more impactful too if they would have put it after he learns everything. There's a couple, I guess it is the only way you can fit in the film, but if you want to give Astrid more like lines, you could have honestly done it in certain moments when they're one-on-one together, I guess you could say. But I do see your point. Okay, he does have they do it after he has this emotional moment, like freeing Toothless, and then he starts to question everything. So I guess you do have a point there. But in my eyes, I just was like, wait, what is going on right now? I feel like there's so much more that he has to learn before he's questioning maybe the dragons are not that bad, because he hasn't even had the moment. Maybe I'm seeing it wrong, but he hasn't even had the moment where he touches Toothless. So like maybe after he has that moment where he touches Toothless, and then maybe she's coming at him and starts to question why are you doing all these weird things? It's kind of, and then he brings out his opinion. Maybe we're wrong about the dragons. Maybe we're wrong about these things. In my opinion, I thought it was a little too early. I thought it was a little too early, Gavin. I thought it was a little too early.
Well, and I understand that, but I think that's too late, because when he touches Toothless's head, that's the moment that they actually form a bond. I mean, it becomes a friendship. It becomes that it's him and his animal. They are now a partnership, which is fulfilled in the end of the movie with him losing his leg and Toothless having a clipped wing. They're one and the same. They're partners. And so I think if you look at their story as a whole, it sits in well, because I mean, here's the deal. If you almost got ran over by a car, are you going to wait until somebody comes up to you 2 hours from then and says, wow, Brett, you could have died? To oh my gosh, maybe I could have died. Okay. Or
just because I'm sane.
or would you have looked at it in the moment and gone, oh my gosh, a car almost hit me, I could have died, and start to question some things then and there?
Yes, but in my eyes, he's still processing and hasn't. This is such a huge plot line in the movie. And
you got to remember, he's not like everybody else. He doesn't even realize it in a
scene. He doesn't even realize it in a scene that they cut from the movie, which is what I want to get into next. He
doesn't have that same mindset as the rest of the Vikings, though. I think you're putting him in with, he's convinced that dragons are killers. He doesn't have those preconceived notions, and so he doesn't have as much backtracking to do as everybody else.
Yes, but in the beginning of the film, all right, he's trying to figure out who he is, and he wants to be like his father. He wants to be like everyone else. And he wants to fit in the first act here, where he does realize that, okay, maybe he's like, and also he does have the conversation with his father. So I guess I'm wrong in that sense. He does have the conversation with his father that he's like, I can't kill dragons. But in my eyes, it's just a little too early to be talking about, like, maybe they're not all that bad, like with Astrid. But I can see your point, though, okay? It's just me having the nostalgia factor, and I love the comedic scene where she just goes, already read it, turns it to the side. And then it allows hiccup, and it keeps the movie going. In my opinion, we're just kind of like stopping there, and it's like a little plot hole. I'm like, I don't know if I like it or not. And then I'm thinking about it, but I guess. But here's my other thing that really ticked me, that kind of got me on my nerves, okay? After they killed it with the Toothless, I do have to say they killed it with the Toothless training, all right? They did a really good job on that. Can we agree on that? It's so good. I mean, it's so funny.
Oh, yeah.
The flying's amazing. The CGI is great. The shots are good. And I feel like that's where it's at its best in the film, where they're remaking. You can't really change it. I mean, those scenes are perfect, and they're etched in DreamWorks history as one of the best. But after they are done flying through the mountains together, Hiccup has a celebration. He has a big celly. Then there's a really great comedic moment where Toothless shoots a fireball. It comes back out. And he's like, oh my God, Toothless. It's just another good comedic scene. Boom, transition. They're both just chilling on the mountain together. A couple baby dragons come up, try to steal Toothless's fish that they caught and they brought for lunch. They're both eating it together. And then a couple dragons start to pick the fish. It tries to fight Toothless, squares up with Toothless, and Toothless just shoots a fireball into the baby dragons. And then Hiccup has this great line, maybe we are wrong about the dragons. And then he goes, wow, not fireproof from the inside. What is the climax of the movie? They pulled off one of the greatest aerial fights ever, and he shoots a fireball, perfect timing, within the final dragon's mouth, and then he explodes because they're not fireproof on the inside. It's those little things in that movie that make that final fight and that final sequence that much better, because you know Hiccup processed that information from just that little moment. That being cut from the film, I literally put my hands up. I'm like, what are we doing? Because we talk about remakes. We talk about, the thing is you can't take out the stuff that, in my opinion, is important from the original film. You're taking out a vital scene. And it's also a good, funny sequence with Hiccup and Toothless. I just don't know why it was cut. It was like 15 seconds too. It wasn't even that long. It was like maybe a minute. So you're taking away sort of another character developing moment for Hiccup as he's becoming this person that is understanding everything about the dragons. And that's what I don't like about the remakes, man. It just ticks me off because you're taking out something that I think is important. And you're like, okay, it's not that important. Throw it to the side. And then we're going to add in some things that are going to hit for you, but not hit for me.
I understand why you don't like that scene being cut. And I
it doesn't sit well with me, Gavin.
But I think it's one of those where in remakes where you know the story. I mean, you know the story. I know the story. 99% of the people know this story. When you were in middle school, you needed to be shown how it could happen and told. This story is for nostalgia. It's not an excuse. What it is that now
that's just an excuse.
When you're going through this, it's the circumference of the story. And I'm going to come back to that point when you make one of your other nitpicks later. It's the circumference of the total story and not just the individual moment. And for that, the story doesn't need to as boldly explain itself every step of the way, because it does such a good job of showing you that I don't think it needs to also at the same time tell you. And it also shows the character's adaptability to learn. And they already did stretch the runtime of this movie longer than the original by 20 minutes or so. And yes, it's a 15-second scene. So would it have been the end of the world to add in the extra 15 seconds? No, it wouldn't have. But at the end of the day, I also, honestly, having watched the movie this year, didn't remember that it was a pivotal scene in the movie up until you brought it up to me in the car on the way back to drop you off. Because everything in that movie lends itself so well to the rest of the essential storytelling that I wasn't looking at it going like, gosh, I feel like I'm missing something. And the important things that I wanted it to hit on, the relationship between Hiccup and Stoic, the relationship between Hiccup and Astrid, the relationship between Hiccup and Toothless, the relationship between Hiccup and the other people going through the trial of fire. All of those are present and accounted for, and some of the nostalgia can't be accounted for in the sense that if you get really attached to a particular actor or another, it doesn't quite hit the same when it's not the same voice coming from that person. But those relationships were all given special care and attention to, that when you miss out on a 15-second bit, especially one where they're basically like, hey, by the way, we're going to tell you how we're going to kill the final boss. I look at it and I go, that for me is not an essential, because we get to see it. And you said it before we even started recording. The final boss was shot and seen way better in the live action. And that lends itself to, we're going to show more than we're going to tell. And again, this is for an audience who saw it when they were in elementary and middle school, 10 years, 15 years down the line, that are now going back to watch this movie for nostalgia as adults. And yes, there will still be kids that go and see it because How to Train Your Dragon is still an extremely popular kids movie. But you also don't lose out on the fact that the dragon blew up in a ball of fire, because it's still a pretty self-explanatory thing to do. And the other thing that I think doesn't get taken into account a lot, and it was a big problem with Beauty and the Beast, because it has a lot more serious tones to it when we're talking about remakes, is that live action is more heavy. It is more serious. It is more thought-provoking, because what you're seeing is not some character that's drawn on a screen. You're seeing actual people. So in the animated film, when they go and kill the beast in Beauty and the Beast, you look at it and you go, oh yeah, that's kind of rough and that's really sad. And when Belle goes over and she sobs over him, that's sad. But when you see Emma Watson go over and sob over it, and it's an actual person and not an animated character.
Disagree.
It holds so much more weight. Yes, it does. Stop. No, it animated doesn't. Characters will never hold as much weight as the actual human character can. In my opinion, period.
Listen, I feel as though, let's start with the characters. I felt more emotion, more weight in the dialogue and the writing in the original than I did for the live action. And in fact, I thought the live action was weightless. The writing changed almost none. I thought the live action was weightless at some times with the writing. Because
now I think you're overreacting to try and...
No, I'm not. I am not.
Here's the deal.
I'm not.
The dialogue almost didn't change at all.
What? Say that.
The dialogue for the movie didn't almost change at all. So if it's that bad in this one, then it had to be that bad in the animated.
No.
Yes.
No. Because the comedic timing feels different. It's the...
No, I laughed through that
animated
whole
version,
movie.
the comedic moments, the timing of everything is built and drawn to that character and to those characters. That's why the side characters felt way better in the animated version, and Hiccup himself felt way better than the animated than in this one. I'm not because I was going to talk about it, but I let you talk. But when I hear you talk about, oh yeah, the live action hits harder just because it's animated does not and just because it's made a live action doesn't mean the live action hits harder. Just because it's real people. Doesn't make
the side characters funnier.
In your opinion, they made No, they didn't.
Just because it's Jonah Hill's voice doesn't make the side action characters funnier.
I want everyone to watch both movies side by side. The comedic moments and the timing of everything and when they're delivered is completely different than in the live action. And honestly, at some points when they happen, I didn't laugh in the live action because it's done just a little bit differently. The timing is different because they're remaking it exactly how it was in the original. And that's what...
You just counteracted your own argument.
How? How did I counteract my own argument?
It's so different. They did it almost exactly the same.
No, but I'm talking about a specific thing with the writing and how it's delivered. And you can't say that, it hits heavier in the live action than the animated. The animated, it hits way more emotionally than it does in the live action. It's 100% factual. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not counteracting at all.
It's
I'm on
not
the
factual,
animated
that's
version
opinionated.
side in every way. And just because they added a couple more scenes, that doesn't give any more weight or any more character development. In some cases, I think it hurts it.
No, again, because the stuff that's done in this film for the character development is done for the overall arch of the betterment of the characters, and it's a couple of scenes. And instead of falling in love in 2.5 seconds, they fall in love like people.
All right.
And instead of being a one-man show, he utilizes everybody in the group. And instead of not having any thought process over the whole thing altogether, he becomes curious right away because he's intellectual. It's all very, very intentional and logical, and it makes sense. None of it is out of place. It all fits exactly where it's supposed to.
Gavin, we are watching a movie where Vikings are riding dragons. Nothing needs to be logical, okay? Listen.
The character development, no matter what the setting needs to be logical.
All right. The specific scene that comes up to my mind when you bring that up, all right? When you think about things that are logical and people falling in love in 2.5 seconds, okay? I brought it up to Gavin in the car. I was like, I didn't like the scene where Astrid gets on Toothless for the first time and they fly up, and it's a beautiful scene. Both of them are shot beautifully. It's done way better in the animated version. You can watch them side by side. It's way more beautiful and way better done in the animated version. I'm just going to say that right now, first of all. And then Astrid, while she's up in the air and having these beautiful moments, comes to a realization in a very romantic way, and Hiccup talks about, I want to get a girlfriend. He wants to get the girl. And she has this very realization that she was wrong. All of everything that she is taught from the beginning, that we have to kill the dragons, our enemy is the dragons. She goes, wow, this is pretty cool, and embraces Hiccup. And Hiccup has this awesome moment where he's like, oh my God, I just got the girl. Let's go. And then she goes, but what are you going to do? And is actually concerned about Hiccup's final exam that he has to go to. And it becomes a huge plot. It becomes a huge plot point in the movie. And it becomes a very romantic moment between two characters that are going to be prevalent in the franchise. And it's a moment that everybody knows is coming. In the live action, she just goes, all right, it's pretty cool. We've been fighting the dragons.
Yep, she was very, very nonchalant that. Said it exactly that way.
No, dude,
she did not.
Man, you can't take one of the best moments in Hiccup's life. That's one of his best moments in his life. Come on, man.
Yeah,
and then they made it super
I feel like
nonchalant.
freeing the village and having dragons there and having her officially get with him is definitely not one of the best moments of his life.
But impressing her and showing her that he has discovered this new thing that is going to change everything in their lives, and she has that same realization too, and then is on his side all the way.
30 seconds after trying to kill him.
Dude, okay. Oh my God, this is where you're too logical, all right? Hiccup stops.
It's not
Hiccup
too logical.
Toothless. Then she runs away, and then obviously they have that great moment where Toothless picks her up. And plus, listen, also, another little nitpicks here. Toothless is really prevalent in Toothless is very purposeful in how he flies and everything. They get that part right. But there's certain cutaways to Toothless and how he purposely flies up to the sunset that is cut from the live action. So he
did that in the live action.
I don't think so.
He did exactly that in the live action.
Either way, that's kind of a nitpicky thing because I just don't think I just didn't think I saw it. And I also, but in my opinion, man, she's very nonchalant about it. And that it just ticks me off. It's like, that is such a good moment between those two characters, and you're just making it super nonchalant like it's not a big deal.
She and he go up there. She asks the same question. Now, instead of embracing him, she apologizes to Toothless, the creature that she tried to attack.
That was a good thing.
And it becomes a more emotional moment for that. And then when they land back down on the beach, they have a classic Hiccup and Astrid moment where she punches him for grabbing her, taking her up on the side of a cliff, and flying her through the sky, taking her to the nest, doing all of these things. Have the conversation about having to kill a dragon. Have the conversation about what he's going to do about the nest, about keeping everything a secret.
Yes, it's in the animated
and then
version
kisses
too.
him. and then kisses him. They still get their romantic moment. They still get the fullness. They still get the weight of that. They still get the entirety of that interaction in its completeness. She didn't hug him up in the sky. I'm so sorry. Instead, they chose to have a more meaningful moment where she relates to the creature that she's been hunting her entire life, because that's more meaningful in the moment than her suddenly switching from, I've hated this guy my entire life because I think he's a privileged jerk who gets whatever he wants without working for it, and instead focuses it more on, I realized I've directed my hate in an incorrect direction. I realized that I've been wrong about this, and that I was wrong about the creatures, and that that's not Hiccup's doing. That's my doing, and I'm apologizing to the creature. A more meaningful moment, because Hiccup in that moment is the more meaningful character for that interaction than just the thing they're writing while they get to have a cute moment.
You're just taking more moments away from my boy Hiccup, and I just don't like it.
Okay, Hiccup is not the star of this story.
He is.
Hiccup is a star of the story. No, Toothless is the star of this story.
Toothless is the star of the story. They're both equally
is the star of the story.
Hiccup is the main character that drives this whole entire thing, and when you take more away from my boy Hiccup, it ticks me off.
You didn't take anything away from him. He still got his moment.
In my eyes, you're taking things away from him. All right.
Okay, so because he sat backseat on a dragon,
okay, yeah,
where he needed to get dropped off anyway on a ship, and because Astrid, who is military-minded, was the one that got to give orders, as opposed to Hiccup, who knew nothing about this dragon and doesn't know how to actually fight them. That's I mean, that's a negative?
What are we talking about here? He learned so much. We literally go into a montage.
He did not learn how to fight dragons. He learned how to distract dragons, not how to defeat the largest, meanest, cruelest, all mother of dragons ever. Astrid was learning how to kill dragons.
Hiccup.
Destruction for dragons. Hiccup knows nothing of that.
Astrid has never killed a dragon.
Intentionally didn't want to learn.
If anything, she's fought against dragons. Okay, she's the better fighter. But the rider, Hiccup as a rider, and Astrid as a fighter are two completely different things, Gavin.
The better fighter shouldn't be the one to lead the charge into a battle.
The person that understands and is doing so much and is gaining information on how dragons operate, what bothers them, how to ride them, and also how much experience he has with dragons, and also how much he's learned about the species. The man should be commanding everyone on what to do, because there's a reason why he was the person chosen to do the final exam. There's a reason why that he is shown with Toothless having all this character development and building up all this knowledge on everything. And to have him in the third act, I get it. It's such a little thing. I sound like such a soft fan of, but it's such a cool moment for Hiccup. He rides in. He commands everyone on what to do. He surveys, and then his father is looking up, seeing him ride a dragon, and everyone is like, we're riding dragons, let's go. It's such a cool moment in the animated movie. What with this?
His father still sees him riding the dragon and is still proud.
Of course, okay? You're not going to change that part of the story. But they also take away him just controlling the whole entire sequence of him commanding everyone and telling everyone what to do. And I get it, man. Like, Astrid is a huge character. And to be honest with you, I liked that they gave her more things to do. They actually added a scene in the third act, an action scene that I thought was super sick. I was like, I like it. But I'm being a nitpicky asshole right now. I'm not going to lie. I get it. But I just didn't like it. I thought it was a cool moment for Hiccup. And it was built up this whole entire time in the movie. And I just thought, when you're just making that slight little change, it bothers me. It bothers me as a fan of the franchise. And, It's a little thing, but it just bothers me, okay? I love seeing Hiccup fly, command everyone, be the boss that he was meant to be as a rider, not as a fighter, and be a strategic mind on the battlefield when he teaches everyone how to tame their dragons. And it's a little thing.
The statement you just made is exactly why I have my opinion. I like seeing him as a boss, as a rider, not a fighter. I agree with you completely. I agree with you completely. I like seeing Astrid as a fighter.
All right. Okay.
And I like seeing Hiccup as a writer.
Exactly. But we're going to disagree all day where you say, oh, yeah, it hits more just because it's live action rather than the animated version.
Would you ask
just because it's drawn,
fisherman?
Just because
would you ask the fisherman to command the naval ship going into war?
What?
Because he knows a lot about fish and boats.
Stop.
Or would you ask the naval captain to do it?
You're being way too logical right now. Obviously...
It's not way too logical. That's a simple thought process.
You're bringing real life scenarios, okay, to a fictional movie where somebody's riding a dragon and the main character just gets put on a passenger seat.
It's a simple line of logic.
He's the first person to do it. He should be riding the dragon.
The trail for... In the Lord of the Rings, I don't want... the hobbits going out front. Give me the dwarves.
Okay. All right. But I
because the hobbits are not fighting people.
I just want to drop it. We're just
Would it make sense to have Frodo commanding?
I feel you. I still disagree with you. But I'm more mad that you think that just because it's hand drawn, that it doesn't hit more emotionally and the lines aren't delivered better versus the live action. The live action compared to the animated version, no comparison emotionally whatsoever. I feel more emotion watching the animated version at 26 years old than watching the live action today. And I will still feel that to the day. It's just like, and I'm a big anime guy, they tried to do live action with anime. You cannot do the same emotional hits with a hand-drawn character than you can with a live person. And you do see that in this movie. And you do see that in the live remakes with Disney. And you do see that in every live remake that they've made so far.
You don't.
The emotional
Beauty
beats
and the
don't
Beast
hit
had
the
so
same.
much more emotion.
What?
What do you mean, what? Beauty and the Beast had so much more emotion. Watching the actual emotion on a real human face can't compare. And I don't get your argument of the dialogue and all of that, because, and again, the dialogue is basically not different at all. So we're going to have to just agree to disagree on that point, because I felt as much emotional weight behind every single word, and every comedic moment that came through hit just as good. If you gave me both of these options for movies to watch between animated and live action, it's a toss-up every time for me. Every time I'd watch a different one, just because I like them both equally. And I'm going to give it away early. This is going to be my highest score of the summer.
What?
Highest.
Oh my goodness.
My new gold standard for live action remakes.
Okay. All right. I mean, it is the best. It is the best one, I guess. It is the best one.
I hope they do How to Train Your Dragon 2 as good as this. I hope it's just as good as this.
They're gonna be changing a lot apparently in the second one. So, and I don't mind that. I mean,
and that's fine, because How to Train Your Dragon 2's story fell off a little bit for me. They got a little bit in the weeds with some things, and so having that change might actually benefit the story some, to have it switched up.
That's where they can thrive. But
they can make some improvements.
But in my opinion, this is a masterpiece. And when you change little things that mean a lot to the character and mean a lot to the audience, in my eyes, I mean, it bothers me. I didn't think it was a bad remake. There's just certain things and nitpicks that I didn't like. And and I still disagree with you. I still think the animated version hits way lines and deliveries and everything. I'm not talking about the dialogue. Obviously, the lines are the same, but the delivery and the comedic moments, they hit different because they're drawn and written to those specific characters, and it's way better. In the live action, it's kind of offbeat. The music isn't playing at certain moments when the line is delivered. It's what?
You mean what?
But
I mean, they're made to these specific characters. Hold on, I'm gonna go find her name. Nico Parker embodies Astrid perfectly. Mason Thames,
I don't think so.
Embodies Hiccup perfectly. Do their exact voice cadences sound exactly like the animated characters from back in the day? No, but these people that they cast for this, and we can just transition this right into the next topic. Because Gerard Butler played. Oh
yeah, he killed it.
Stoic in both.
He killed it.
And
I'm not talking about that.
The blacksmith Murray MacArthur did an amazing job, and really everybody in this cast did an amazing job. But there's nothing that's written to them that doesn't sit with their characters exactly the way it should. When Gerard Butler figures out that Hiccup has actually been acing this training in his voyage, comes back, gives him the breast hat, knocks him on his butt in his workshop as he's hiding all of the plans for the dragon wing. And he falls and stumbles over the awkwardness, the uncomfortableness, the funny comedic moments in that were so good. And they were so genuine. And then the absolute dead silence after he says, and now we have so much to talk about now that you're in dragon training. And then they just sit there and talk about nothing is one of the more funny moments in the entire film. And it translates so well.
Yes, that one moment specifically, I think that was,
I can name you 20 or 30 others.
But but I'm not going to lie to you. When you watch the comedic delivery of Hiccup in the animated version, it sounds way more witty, sounds way more better, and the delivery is so much better. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the dialogue itself.
The delivery of what?
It's just the way he's presenting it. I can't tell you. I didn't voice Hiccup, Gavin, but you watch it side by side. I guarantee you, if you put these things side by side, it just doesn't hit the same. It doesn't hit the same for me. Okay? There's just a little bit more funnier tone to Hiccup's animated voiceover than there is to the live action. I'm not saying that the actors Nico Parker didn't do a bad job. They did a great job.
He either delivered his lines well and did a great job, or he did a bad job. He did an
average job. I'm going to say that right now.
He did a great job.
No, he didn't do a great job.
Yes, he did. He did do a great job.
It just doesn't hit the same for me as the animated version. And that's where we're going to disagree. And I mean, to be honest with you, across the board, I think this is how people think. I think when you watch the animated version, then you watch the live action, it doesn't, I wasn't laughing at certain moments that I thought were super funny in the animated version because it's delivered differently in my eyes. And it just doesn't sound the same. It's just little things that it just bothers me. Okay. And I'm not saying that anybody did that. I thought they did a great job. It's hard for me to say that they did a great job when I just think so highly of the animated version. And I just think you're crazy to think that, oh yeah, hand-drawn characters, it doesn't hit the same emotionally. No.
Fan-rated meter not. For How to Train Your Dragon live-action remake is 98%.
I'm sorry, I was talking over to you in that moment. What was that?
Fan-rated reaction on Rotten Tomatoes is 98%.
Okay. That doesn't change my opinion of this remake.
Well, I know, but here's what my opinion is. I said it was a good remake. Here's what my opinion is on this, and I understand where you're coming from completely. The more that I hear you talk about this, the more it comes back to how bad of a job other remakes have done in the past. And I'm not going to deny that 90% of the other remakes that have been done for live action movies have in fact been disappointments. That's where I tried to start us out at. But the fact of the matter is if you go into every live action remake with the idea that it's going to be as bad, as disappointing, as much of a letdown, and look for things to nitpick, look for things to let you down, it's going to. If you look for all of the problems instead of letting yourself just be immersed in the world, it's going to. And I'll give a great example. If they make John Wick 5, and I go into John Wick 5 going, it's stupid John Wick's alive. It's stupid that this movie got made. It's stupid this, it's stupid that. Then I'm going to hate John Wick 5, no matter how good of a movie it is, because I'm going to want to nitpick every single little thing. Because in my mind, John Wick died, the story tied up, everybody got an ending that was good for that franchise. If I want to have any chance of properly enjoying that movie the way that the directors, the writers, Keanu is trying to put that movie together, I can't go into it saying, well, John Wick 4 exhausted me. And I didn't love that Keanu had 38 words of dialogue in John Wick 4, and it was 2 hours and 20 minutes of bullet fire. I have to go into it with, this is a fresh movie with a fresh mindset, with the capability to give it the chance. Because if you don't go into it with that, it's, like I said, it's going to be really, really easy for me to nitpick every single little thing about it and not notice so many of the good things that they do. Because as you said to me when we've had the John Wick argument before, there's a reason they've made 4. And there's a reason that they're looking at making a 5th. There's a reason that despite the fact that the first one just released, the second one's already in production for How to Train Your Dragon.
Okay.
You have to kind of let go of the fact that every other remake has been kind of a big disappointment and go into it with fresh eyes, not looking to nitpick.
I'm not going into nitpick. I was so excited to watch this. This is one of the first remakes I've watched. It just bothered me that certain things were taken out and certain things were added. And that's a personal preference. I thought it was a great remake. That was good. I thought the actors did good. But when I am explaining to you my point that you think just because it's a live action and these are live actors that it hits emotionally harder, I disagree with you. I think when you watch the animated version, there's certain moments with Toothless, and Hiccup that I think are kind of lost in the live action. And that's not to say that they did a bad job. I'm just saying that it hits harder emotionally, and I feel like you have more creativity with the characters and the way they have a relationship together and the way they interact with each other in an animated movie. And when you make a remake, that's where you're going to think about. You're going to think about, does it hold up to the animated version? And I thought it did. It's just, of course, I'm going to have my nitpicks, and of course, I'm going to question why did they take out this scene when it ended up being such a vital point in the third act? Or why did they switch that up just to give another person more lines? Of course, I'm going to question that. But overall, I thought it was a good remake. And of course, I had my little nitpicks. I sounded like a little baby there. And I apologize. But this is one of my favorite animated movies ever. And I'm just going to disagree with you being like, oh yeah, it hit harder emotionally because it was live action, it was live characters. I don't agree with that in the slightest. I think there's way more emotional beats in the animated version. And I think when you watch hand-drawn stuff and the writing and the interaction is there on the screen, I think it can hit just as hard as a live action remake. That's all I'm saying. And I think that's
fine.
We got both of our opinions. And I think that's a good.
And I'll apologize to you as well. I'm being a baby myself because How to Train Your Dragon is one of my favorite stories.
Yeah.
And I'll just have to respectfully agree to disagree. Because
no, I'm just going to disagree with you all day, and we're just going to argue around in circles all day. I'm kidding.
Okay, well, I mean, we could also do that too. It's just way more exhausting that way.
God, I'm sweating because I argued with you.
Yeah, well, we haven't done one where we properly argued yet. So it's good that we finally got this one out of the way. We were due for a good argument for a while. We've been kind of batting around the John Wick argument for a good bit.
All
so
professional and everything. I mean, my audio levels are spiked the whole entire time during this.
Dude, we're going to have to edit this podcast so much because before this one can come to air, we're putting in all the work on it. Okay.
Oh my God.
I promise we won't be blowing out your eardrums by the time this gets to the final project. We both got a little overworked. We apologize to you guys for that.
What's our score? What's your score? You said it was going to be the golden score of the summer, so give me your score.
It is the highest score I'm giving it of the summer. In fact, it might be the highest score I give of the year. It's a 9.5.
8. Give me an 8.
Yeah.
I'll change my score. I'll give it an 8.5. That was good. There was just certain big points that I thought that needed to be in the film, and then certain points that didn't hit for me. But that's just me. I'm happy the audience liked it because we're going to get a second one, and it's going to be great. I hope they can make enough money because obviously we talked about how much these movies cost and stuff like that. But overall, I mean, I thought it was a good remake. I enjoyed it. I just had a lot of nitpicks, but that holds up for good arguments and, why these movies are being made. And I thought you had some great points, Gavin, and I'll give you some credit for that.
I agree. You had some good points. And I mean, I can see where you're coming from. I understand the nostalgia of it all. I think my biggest portion of it comes from being a book reader. And we had the book to movie conversation the other day because we were, little context, we were in the office talking about The Notebook. And Brett was talking about The Notebook as one of his favorite romantic movies of all time. And I said, I really like it, but it's not top 10 for me because I like the book better. And his face dropped right in front of me. And he goes, there's a book?
I didn't know there was a book. I didn't know there was a book.
He had no idea. And I was like, yeah, Brett. And he goes, they should make movies off of books more often. And I was like, no, because this is the problem. I'm telling you, I liked the book better. I liked the movie, but the book was just better. And that's where my argument comes from, is when you look at things that get remade and redone from animated to live action, from book to movie or TV show, I feel like at some point as a fan of two separate things that often get melded in with one another, you eventually just accept that some things get lost in translation. At the very beginning, I think I was exactly like you were. I was so heated. Couldn't stand it. I can't believe you left that out. Harry Potter has and always will be until they either correct it or destroy it with this new TV show. Stay tuned for that. We will be covering it. But Harry Potter, I mean, you watch the first movie and you go, I think they left out 60 pages in total. And then you get to the second book and they go, well, they've got a bigger budget now, so they'll do better. And then they leave out 100 pages. And then you get to the third and the fourth movies and whole characters just don't show up. And you're going dude, what are you doing? There's whole people from this story that didn't show up here. And so after so many years, I kind of get past the point of those things would have been nice to have in there. But I'm kind of past needing to have them in there because, well, I got used to not having them. You get used to Peeves, the friendly ghost, not showing up in Harry Potter because he had 8 movies to show up in. He didn't show up in a single one of them. You had moments from The Notebook that were so powerful that I was like, dude, Gosling would have killed that. Not in the movie. Not in the movie at all. I want a 3-hour Notebook movie. I don't even
You
care.
got 2.5 hours, so sorry you didn't get the 30 extra
I want
minutes,
the extra
Gavin.
half an hour though. I want those moments. And that's where I understand your opinion from, because I know why you want those moments. Because when books get made into movies, I want those moments. So I hear you. I know where you're coming from. But it's difficult in today's world because so many people don't look at it through that lens and that scope. They look at it and they go, yeah, but we got the important stuff and that's what counts. And so eventually, as time went on, I went and looked at it and went, you know what? As long as they get the important stuff, that's what counts.
All right.
And maybe you'll get there one day, or maybe you'll stay as passionate as I was when I was 12 years old and Harry Potter came out and was missing 60 pages.
I'm an anime geek, so at the end of the day, I probably never will with these live remakes. But at the end of the day, it happens all the time. But I'm gonna go watch them. I was entertained by this one, but I'm always going to have something to nitpick about. That's like all I'll say. So I'm always going to have something to nitpick about. But it was a good remake. I liked it. It
was a great remake. Yep.
And
well,
let's go Elio. I'm rooting for Pixar. Let's go Elio.
Elio, I have such... I wouldn't say high hopes. Let's not call it high hopes. What I have for is a strong desire for it to be good. It's an original story. We haven't had a good original story in a while. We pointed out in the theater as we were walking in 2 posters, Zootopia 2 and Tron, Ares. And Tron is not a totally original story because it's based off of something.
But it deserves
But it should be an original story.
It deserves
And Zootopia 2 will be an original story. Elio, an original story. Bring back some original stories, okay? Because the non-original stories, the remakes, they're too easy to pick apart for everybody that's got something that they like more than the other. And then it becomes very subjective. Give us something that is just so fresh and original that it's either really good or it's really not. And I err on the side of please make it really good, but let's at least make it original. Let's make it unique.
I agree. Let's go remakes.
That's not what I said.
All right, catch you guys in the next review.
Have a good one.